Bonjour à tous. Merci d'être présent.
We have a remote speaker. Does it work? Seems so. So we will have the presentation in English because our Hungarian speaker speaks English.
I'm very proud to be the animator of this conference regarding cyber threat hunting. So my name is Laurent Cordival. I'm VP in charge of cyber defense advisory in Béjaflor. And first of all, I will introduce our expert of this roundtable. So maybe remotely, Sandor, can you hear us? So Sandor Ferrer.
Bonjour à tous. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Laura. Should I introduce myself in a couple of sentences?
Yes, go on.
Okay, my name is Sándor Fehér. I'm the CEO of Vital IT Security. I'm an IT security enthusiastic and also university lecturer. I've worked 15 years for the national security sector. Later, I founded Whitehead from venture capital. We focused on incident response and managed security service, mostly for the DACH and the C region customers. I think that's enough about me.
Thank you very much, Sandor. So on site, we are proud to be with Colonel François-Régis Vigneault.
Yes, I'm Colonel François-Régis Vigneault. I'm from the French ComCyber, and I work in the department in charge of the cyber insurance and the incident response also.
And just as he's left, Olivier.
Hello everybody, so I'm Olivier Spielmann from Costbased Security in Switzerland. I'm the Vice President for the Managed Security Services and Incident Response at Costbased Security.
Thank you, Olivier. And last but not least, Arnaud.
Oh. Thank you. So my name is Arnaud Fillette. I'm a business success manager for Thales. 20 years of experience in cybersecurity, working for cyber consulting and operations in activities in Thales. So looking after basically SOC customers.
Thank you very much. As an introduction of cyber threat hunting processes, I think we all know that threat evolution has been extremely innovative in the last 18 months. With Kaseya, SolarWinds, we all know of these kind of attacks. And threats underlines today the need to strengthen and to evolve regarding cyber detection. And the fact of hunting today is to look for a way to change our discipline, to change cyber defense, to push attackers to do some fault, whereas they are usually staying within our network for days and days and months. And that's the idea of hunting. We will try to describe it to see what are the best practices today and to share you what should be the first step for you, for your organization, to move forward this new discipline. First of all, we talk a lot about cyber threat hunting. I'm sure you have seen a lot of different vendors talking about cyber threat hunting. So maybe can we each other define what is cyber threat hunting? Maybe first for Olivier. When we look at this conference, look for definition, we found the first definition from the NIST that said that cyber threat hunting is the fact of establishing and maintaining some cyber threat and capabilities and to employ these capabilities. It looks a bit vague. What is your feeling regarding this definition?
Sure. So threat hunting is about detecting better and detecting what is not detected automatically by machines, basically. And we can challenge each other the definition because it's not yet fully defined worldwide. But basically for us, at Costbased Security, it means that instead of having only some automatic detections trying to catch the attack, we want to put in front of those hackers, which are actually humans, very good humans, very good geeks, we want to put in front of them security experts. And those experts will challenge them and will be less easy to evade than the automatic detection. This is really what we try to do, so that it's more difficult to evade. And obviously it comes with other advantages, etc. So for us, threat hunting is about using the human intelligence, is about using the skill set, the experience of security engineers, security analysts, to be able to detect the threat that could have been maybe not detected with the automatic system. It is also to detect the threats which are happening right now. It means when we hunt for a threat, we hunt for some activities. We try to find some techniques which are leveraged by hackers or some typical sequence of attack that are done by the hacking community right now. So for us, what is not threat hunting is not just a set of indicators of compromise that we look for in logs. I mean, it can be useful, but we hunt more based on the technique, on the behavior, rather than hunting based on just an indicator of compromise, which can also come from past attacks and can be of quite low value. So this is how we see that. We can do different type of hunting. In our managed service, what we do is structured hunting, so we look into low signal events to have the expertise of security analysts trying to find an anomaly, to try to detect an incident that would not have been detected. We also base threat hunting based on threat intelligence. So if we know there is an active campaign right now, leveraging a certain technique or leveraging a certain vulnerability, we will hunt in all our customers on that type of technique to try to find it. And also we will push our analysts to try to find some new way of hunting and detecting some threat by proposing some hypotheses and then testing them on live data to be able to see if it works in terms of detection. So this is how we see threat hunting. It's not the official definition, but this is actually how we see it.
Thanks a lot. Maybe Sander, if you want to react, also regarding the limits of threat hunting, because there is a lot of different disciplines that are emerging today, threat intelligence, red team, blue team. How do you separate these activities?
Yes, I mostly agree with Olivier. Maybe it will be easier to understand if we see the difference between the offensive and the defensive team. What do you think, Laurent?
Yes, go on. You can. I think you're right. Some CISOs, it's confusing sometimes to say what is the red team, what is the blue team, what should certain thing. Is it a compromise assessment? Is it day-to-day activities from my SOC? So that's what we see today in different customers. They have different point of view. What is your feeling?
Yep. The experts within the SOC can be divided into two categories: blue teamers and red teamers. The red teams keep looking for new offensive techniques that work within the network. If they found one, then they can pass it to the blue team and for sure for the administrators to define measure against this new kind of vulnerability. It can be solved, if it can be solved with a reconfiguration or a patch, then it is easy. If not, they must develop a workaround or a custom alert or detection rule. The majority of the blue team usually work based on different kind of alerts, except for threat hunters. They are looking for indicator of possible previous ongoing attack. Just for example, the recent Prinnheimer issue, I think it's a good example. It's easy to understand through it. In the first few days, if you remember, there weren't any proper patches nor high-quality detections, I would say. But the threat hunter could easily find indicator of compromise. If you remember, the first patch, when it was released, it wasn't a 100% solution, since the attackers were able to promote any server to domain controller again with the DC promo kind attack. And then they could use the print nightmare attack again. In this case, the threat hunter had to search for traces of new printer installation. If they found those on a DC, that was probably an indicator of an attack. Not just an internal offensive team, the red team can support the daily work, as Oliver already told it. Of course, the threat hunters, but a good quality threat intelligence service too. Threat intelligence feeds are developed by external threat hunters, but it's another topic, I guess. The most effective tool set for an average threat hunter is a query language that he or she can use, and for sure a data set with the proper information he or she can query in. For example, a centrally managed log and a good endpoint protection, endpoint detection and response system is essential, or I would say it's a must. According to my experience, if you can rotate the experts between the red and the blue team, that supports the effectiveness of the entire team. Of course, I'm talking about the higher level experts, not the level 1 analyst. Their work is also essential, for sure. Not to mention that the average or general size of a red team is usually something like 5 to 10% the size of a blue team. So just to get back on the differences between the red and the blue team, the border between the offensive and the defensive team has to be seen, since they have to work hand to hand to ensure the whole enterprise the most effective way or most effectively.
Thank you for this answer. And I underline 2 points, I think, very interesting for the audience today. For me, based on my last experience 5 years ago as a SOC manager, we were always talking regarding use case, regarding thresholds, and so on and so on. And you say something very important that regarding threat hunting is looking for indicator of attacks, which means to go away from the knowledge-based situation. And I think Arnaud want to react regarding that, because should I keep my CM with my old rules, or should I erase everything and go to threat hunting?
But basically, the question you want to raise is that do we define threat hunting as a new ground for detection? First of all, I would say that I don't think threat hunting is new. We've been doing hunting and we've been doing analytics on collected events for a while, looking for anomalies, and then we started to formally get a wider approach with signatures, with rules on those events, and it took probably more importance in the way we detected things. Sorry. So I don't think this is a new and this is a ground. I think this is a complementary approach to other detection capabilities. And the main point is probably that threat hunting is not real time. This is key. Basically, most of the threat hunting activities are done in the background, looking for information on past events. The other point is that most of basically threats that we detect today are also detected by standard rules and signatures. So we cannot consider that hunting is a unique approach. But the three key things that hunting should focus on, and I think we already mentioned some of them. The one that you mentioned is really working on tactics and techniques used today by attackers, following specific frameworks, like for instance, most of us know the MITRE attack framework, which is what we consider the Bible for detection today. This is a good framework. The key point from that framework is that what we learn from there is that most of the attacks and most of the detection capabilities to detect the techniques and tactics used by attackers are based on analysis, behavioral analysis and detection of anomalies. And this is probably something that is complex to do in real time for most of the solution. Don't listen to vendors, this is the case. The second point is that we've been talking about threat intelligence. Looking at all the indicators of compromise into real-time, from a real-time detection approach is also not efficient. It will first generate a lot of false positives, but it also is very complex to maintain. So the threat hunting activity will allow to complement that approach by actually looking what we call basically retro hunt. It's basically taking a lot of events from what we collected for 3 or 6 months and look at a large set of indicators on those events based on what we know and what we have in threat intelligence. And the third point, I think, and this is something we'll probably touch later, is the continuous improvement. Basically what we do when we do a threat hunting playbook, when we detect something, at the end of the day, this is something that can be automated and that's something that can feed other detection capabilities, either through signature, through rule, or for a specific playbook that we run on a regular basis. And those, I think, are the three key topics or three key objectives of the threat hunting activity, but complementing the standard detection capabilities, of course.
Great. I think we all agree on this the fact of complementarity. Maybe François-Régis, you want to add some feedback regarding your within your operation, within your day-to-day activities, threat hunting and standard detection activities are complementary.
Yes, I completely agree with the fact that it's a complementary approach. Basically, the idea of threat hunting is to find attacks not detected by a standard knowledge approach, and that is in progress, or maybe which is terminated, but the key point is to find attack in progress and not detected. And it can be not detected due to many points. The first one is because of the level of the attacker, mainly with, if we consider the state threat, it's the team of attacker have time, so they can progress slowly with very low noise, and it's really difficult to detect. And so for the threat hunters, all the trick will be to be able to find their actions, generally, which could be legitimate, and if possible, to find the attacker without being detected by the attacker, which is a key point and really difficult. Using this different approach is a way to find different things. And sometimes we are not able to supervise the system just because it's a too small system or it's isolated one, and so when you can't have any detection on the system, it could be a good thing time to time to go on this system and to proceed looking for first IOCs, and then maybe, because you won't come back soon, to go a little further and to use threat hunting on this system also.
Okay, so it's regarding this threat hunting and the benefit for CISO. I think many of you are thinking about it. I've already started to try, and we will go further with regarding the different steps. But maybe regarding purely detection, Sander, what do you think? What are the key benefits for detecting cyber attacks today to set up a threat hunting process?
I think the main purpose of the threat hunters is to reduce the detection window. Detection window is the time that passes between the infection or the penetration and the first detection by the defensive team. According to industry experts and also according to our experience, in general, the hackers remain in their victim system something like from 6 to 9 months, which is insane. And with a SOC, this time could dramatically less, but not zero. The classic SOC without threat hunters based on alerts, we told it many times today. And I totally agree with Francois that the highly skilled attackers like endless persistent threat actors can bypass the alerting systems and can stay hidden but still active. I would say they learned how to fly under the radar, but even if you are the best hacker in the world, then it is nearly impossible to do your daily business without leaving any traces. Sooner or later, you will make some fault, and this is the main task. I mean, this is why the main task of the threat hunter is to find this kind of information. And let's be honest, I mean, this is the typical work process which is suitable for people and not machines and algorithms. That's the main advantage of that, I mean, for threat hunting. In this case, the attacker must deceive people, not algorithms. For example, when an attackers use valid services or built-in system components for their objectives, it is harder to filter it out for the defensive system, for all the automated defensive systems. These adversaries techniques called living off the land, or another good example is the emerging threat questions. We also mentioned it today. When the blue team is informed about a new unpatched vulnerability, hand in hand with the threat hunters, they can investigate it if the system was infected previously in this attack, exploiting this vulnerability, and they can define new detection rules against it for the future. So, to put it in a nutshell, the blue team without threat hunters can only hang on alerts, and the detection window is longer. Blue team with threat hunters can react quicker and can work with a higher level of effectiveness. I would say threat hunting is a key element to transform from reactive defense to proactive defense.
Okay, great. It was exactly my next question. So we will reduce, with threat hunting, we reduce the attack windows. How do you use it for detection? How do you use also threat hunting, Oliver, in your SOC team for other activities?
So what we do for our clients is we run hunting campaigns on a continuous basis in our managed security services. It's important for us. It's important for the team because, as you may know, for those who have been security analysts, tier 1 and so on, you get tickets on a daily basis and you get 100 tickets per day or so. At some point, making 2 weeks of hunting allows you to learn from that and to become better, and to also do more research type of work, which is also a good incentive for your daily job. So I think in my case, it helps, first of all, to improve the skills of my team. It helps to build some new detections that we didn't think about so far, but also to reduce drastically my turnover. And I guess where I'd like to bring my managed service over time is to compensate finally all the alert fatigue that we can have when we have a detection rule which detects only low signal, which are not really worth, but the analysts still have to look at it, because basically when you have an alert which is always the same, coming 99.5% of the time, it's a false positive, you can bet that the one time it will be a true positive, the analyst will start the analysis by saying it is a false positive. And then by chance, maybe he will make it right. But this is not the way we should be doing detection. We should have quite precise detection rules to be really getting what is wrong. And then we should compensate the low signal and cover the low signal with more hunting type of, or data analysis, or I don't know what, machine learning, in artificial intelligence, whatever technique, we will go there. But we need to change that thing, because this is really hurting the teams which are doing the job. And the alert fatigue is really not good for the people which are doing the job as well, on top of the customer. So for me, it's really part of the continuous improvement for our customers, but also internally for the teams, so that they can remain happy in their job and motivated.
Motivation. All the SOC manager I've met the last 2 days is one of the key points for them. What is your does it change something for SOC person within your organization, Arnaud, to do threat hunting? Is it a new deal for them?
Well, I guess the points have already been addressed by Olivier and Sander. The fact that it reduces the operational fatigue is definitely key. Allowing analysts to perform additional actions or additional activities will definitely improve not only their skills. By skills, I mean that when you do threat hunting, you need to learn about, I'm not talking about knowledge, but about skills. That means that you need to use specific scripting tools and adjust the way you detect things depending on the capabilities that you have. It also develops knowledge. The knowledge of attack techniques and procedures used by attackers, and that knowledge will definitely improve, continuously improve the way analysts can suggest new detection rules for the customers. So this is, I think you already addressed those points, releasing operational fatigue, improving skills, improving knowledge. And what Sander pointed is the fact that what we recommend is definitely to mix the different teams, so analysts like blue team, but also pen testers, red teams, and obviously threat intelligence teams, so what we used to call level 3 teams, working definitively on threat intelligence activities, so prevention, using threat intelligence databases, using those 3 kind of experts and the capability to interact, to help them to interact each other, but also to mix their roles across the services that we deliver to customer, will facilitate and improve the detections for our customers, yes.
Thanks. We talk a lot regarding the benefits today of threat hunting for day-to-day activities. I think we have a discussion just before with François Régis regarding CM of circumstance, regarding what to do when we come within your organization, your IT system during or just after an incident. In that case, in this particular moment when we don't know what should be the good detection system, what is the benefits to do some threat hunting in that case, François Régis?
The main benefits in that case is you're in a situation when you don't know exactly what is going on. Just have some alerts saying that maybe something could be wrong. And so sending a threat hunting team in this situation has the opportunity to maybe succeed to detect the the attacker and in focusing on the most dangerous scenario, which is for us mainly the state actor, and because the most probable, which is the criminality, is generally taken into account with a good percentage by the knowledge detection, and so the threat hunting in incident response is really in the first part of the incident response, when you try to find exactly what's going on, is a good way to gain time and to be more efficient and to proceed with low noise and trying not to be detected by the potential attacker.
So threat hunting is the Swiss knife of cybersecurity. How can we start to implement it within our SOC? Anu, do you have any advice for everybody?
Advice is, first of all, I think hunting is what we call a time and material activity. It's not something that you can deliver through strong SLAs, and that typically when we are managed services, managed security services, we used to deliver services with very strong SLAs. Hunting is different, but that doesn't mean you cannot start and probably book some time for analysts, as we discussed sooner. Let the analyst work with some time that is booked specifically for that activity. But if you do that, on top of it, you will need also, as we said, to follow specific frameworks, because you need to decide what you want to look, where you want to look at, and how you will do things, so that you can drive and steer the hunting activity in the right direction. So following specific frameworks like we mentioned, like the MITRE, or getting access to CTI information to allow threat hunters to have the right level of information regarding tactics and techniques is key. So that's probably something that needs to be considered. And on top of that, you need this is a service, basically. Even if you do it internally, you need to define it as a service to you. So you need a governance, even if it's driven by the existing SOC analyst, or sometimes, as we see it, by the CSIRT teams within the organization. It needs to follow a specific governance with some regular meetings to assess the different hunting playbooks that have been considered, to look at the results and drive and steer the next activities that you will perform through hunting. This drives into, as I said, we cannot push on specific SLAs, but we need some specific KPIs. So you need to measure the return on investment on the hunting activity. And return on investment is basically measuring the time spent on the different scenarios that you perform, the efficiency or the ratio of incidents that you have triggered through hunting activities compared to other detection capabilities. And when I call incidents, as we've been talking about a lot, talking about detecting attackers, but what I can say from my experience is that most of the time, what we detect are risky behaviors from users. So we need to consider that. This is important, and as I said, it drives also the continuous improvement. One example is one of the last hunting scenarios that I've been across, for instance, is we've been looking at network data on network flows on firewalls, and we saw users going onto very specific, connecting on specific machines on the internet. They were not referenced into threat intelligence databases, and they were using large range of ports. But basically, those users were just users trying to connect to their home devices and performing some administration task during job hours. So this definitively can be used as an example and can be reused in the detection, in real-time detection, basically to mitigate that. And maybe the last point, when I was talking about, KPIs, is definitely that, how much hunting contribute to improving the standard detection in the process. So those three kind of KPIs can be considered to start to implement threat hunting activity.
So governance, KPIs, process, referential. It sounds a huge project, and maybe Olivier, what do you think? Is it something that should be done for every SOC, for just a couple of SOC? What is the key prerequisite to start to launch a cyber threat hunting?
Yeah, so it should be done for every SOC. That would be my short answer. But to some extent, you can start simple. For me, there is a need of a framework. When you are an MSSP, you have several hundred clients and so on. You need obviously to organize all of this. But if you have an internal security operation team, you can start into hunting into some easy data, and then build from that, and then build on the tools, and then go further and further. So I think everybody can launch this to start. Would it be like looking at the .tk domain name resolution type of event and trying to find anomalies? Would it be into PowerShell? Would it be in everything which is going to your spam mailbox or everything like this? Everybody has the data and start. Then you need to see what data is available for you, and then to start from there to build what you can do with that data. So for me, I would let the creativity of the engineers to think about what they can do with that and to build on it. So it means as a hunting campaign starts in our Cyber Fusion Center, basically over time the campaign will improve, because it's kind of a collaborative work. They have a wiki page to say, hey, now based on that campaign, so we have been looking in PowerShell events. Now we have seen also that there is a Windows event, which is very worse in that specific campaign. So somebody adds a comment, and then the hunting campaign continue with that additional topic. And then somebody else can add something else, because now there is maybe a way to detect with the network and a way to detect with something else. So for me, it's important to have this being able to be contributing together to always go further. And then, of course, it takes resource. That's correct. So some organization is needed, but I would say every SOC should be doing some hunting because it is for the interest of the company and for the engineers as well.
Great, we are coming to the most important point, euros. So, François-Régis, regarding your different experience, how much does it cost to set up a threat hunting process? How do you acquire expertise regarding threat hunting? How do you maintain this expertise?
First of all, it will cost different kind of things. It will cost money for sure. It will cost training, but it will cost also a lot of energy. The first thing you have to think to set up threat hunting will go to the computer and network department and explain them what you will do and what will be the risk for their activity, or what is not the risk for their activity, because you won't be able to do anything without them. And the administrators are the first source of indication or where to look for, because they will be able to tell you this server is not like usual, or there's something strange, and so it's for the threat hunters, it's a good point to start. The second thing to be able to proceed for threat hunting, you will need hard CTI, and by CTI it's not IOC, it's mainly the habits of some groups of attackers and the way they are acting, so to try to find the action the most probable to be the sign of an attack. And so it's the first point you will have to be able to try to unveil an attack. After that, the threat hunting today needs a lot of experience. So because it's not automatic, as Arnaud has said before, and so it relies a lot on the ability of the threat hunters to connect the dots and to be able to know that this kind of action related with this kind of action which have been detected could be the beginning of an attack detection. And so this experience, you need time to acquire it first, and second, it means that you have to keep your personnel, because otherwise you will just run after the experience for a long time, and it will be very difficult to have a real capability. And so the only good thing on this point is, as has been said before, it's that to set up the threat hunting will be also an opportunity to reduce the turnover. But it has to be taken into account. And the last effort, which is maybe the less usual in this kind of team, is you will have to document the process to be able to have something you can do again, just to check it, and on the same way, just to be able to compare the situation at 2 times. And so mainly, I would say the effort will be a lot of energy and pedagogy.
A lot of energy. Maybe some things that we do not explain today, and I don't know who want to share with the audience, but okay, I will have in my SOC threat hunters, I will have analysts, I will have a CSERT. Is it the same person, or is it different person? You have different teams. What is the best for you?
I think Sander probably touched a little bit this point, but it can be different teams. But if it is different teams, you need to ensure that you have a very collaborative approach between the different teams. But it can be the same team. I've seen in many organizations the hunting activity done by the CSERT. Because they have, for 2 reasons. One, they have the expertise, and they have the knowledge of the infrastructure. So, as mentioned, where to look at, basically, and what is potentially happening somewhere in the infrastructure. But we also develop, as any managed security services providers, we also develop threat hunting services from back office team, leveraging analysts to perform additional tasks. And what is working well, from my perspective, is really a mix of red teams, so collaborating with blue teams for threat hunting activities, so not doing red teaming exercises or doing some pen testing, but really doing some hunting activities together. This works pretty well. And also the fact that you can have potentially some analysts from back office or some detection analysts working also with CSERT to sometimes do together some kind of hunting activities.
Thanks.
I would say shortly that it mainly depends on the means you have. If you can have different teams, it could be a good thing, but you have to keep in mind that you need to organize the discussion between the teams, because the circulation of information is paramount, and you have to rotate the teams also, because on one hand, it's you really do well what you do often, so it's more for to have different teams. But on the other hand, all these teams have to work very closely because they need the information for the other to be efficient in their work.
Thanks a lot. Sander, I think, I don't know if you want to complete, but we know also that you provide some training for red team, blue team. How do you train, or what is the good solution to develop threat hunters?
Yeah, and not just threat hunters. I think you should train the whole SOC team. So CISOs have to train their team. Totally agree with Olivier. It is also easy if you are an MSSP. But in the recent years, if you are an MSSP and you are specified on providing SOC service for companies, but if you are a company, and the recent years, I guess, and it will be also a trend for the next few years, many companies established an internal SOC team. And there is a huge gap on the labor market as there are not enough defensive experts. So most of the SOCs are started with unexperienced team member, which is not a good start, I would say. It usually sooner or later ends in an IT security incident, after which the team leader is fired and the team's fallen apart. So, and it is also hard to handle from the CISO side because unfortunately there are not enough defensive training on the market. So it is easy to find offensive trainings, but really hard to find good defensive ones. That is why we started our unique enterprise defense training 3 years ago. We do it in academic cooperation for university students, and we provide our customized trainings for companies' defensive teams. We do it both theoretically and practically. We providing APT-like practical scenarios, and we finished the training with a 20-hour-long practical exam. But I don't want to promote our service in this panel. I mean, I just want to emphasize that I believe that companies have to help young experts to grow into this rapidly changing field because the demand is highly growing.
Thanks. I agree. And regarding the young generation, I think it's not the subject of today's meeting, but practical training, cyber range would be a key point and a key issue if we want to develop cyber defense SOC team in the next years. And I know there is a lot of new solution regarding that, but that would be necessary for most of our customers. Maybe to conclude before to answer your question. Any of you, can you just share maybe one mistake that we should avoid when we want to set up the cyber threat team?
Should I start?
Let's go. Sander.
It will be short. My advice for all the CISOs: your company needs a dedicated security team. If your company has enough human resource, knowledge and experience, and the proper technology, then you are ready to create it. You are ready to create your defensive team in-house. But if either one of those three is missing, then use an outsourced professional service for that. It will be cheaper and most effectively as a managed security service. That's all.
So maybe I can add something. So what I would say is to start by doing a cost-based approach on threat hunting will kill the idea in the egg. I don't know if we can say that in English, but for those who speak French, you understood. Meaning that you will estimate that's going to cost a lot of resource, a lot of money, a lot of time. But in the end, if you target an objective, You can find some motivated analysts that are maybe not super expert, super senior, but very skilled that could be starting with. And then as the ball is rolling, everybody will automatically start to collaborate and to make it grow. So you don't need to build a team to start hunting. You can just start with the resource you have, and then you can build from there. And it will automatically interest people, and then it will automatically grow. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I definitively agree. I cannot agree more, but I will also come back on the fact that if you don't get that service well organized with a proper governance and a proper monitoring of the effectiveness and efficiency of the hunting activity, you will probably go nowhere at some point. You will not be able to understand if it provides the right return on investment, whatever the cost you actually spend.
And last thing is, I would say, don't try to be too fast, because it's better to begin with limited goals, but be clear on what you can expect of it. Otherwise, everybody will think that now we are well protected and nothing can happen. And when something will happen, it will be difficult to explain.
Thanks a lot. Do you have any question?
I have a question from the customer perspective. We've discussed concepts, good practices. I am a CISO with 10 people in my blue team. How many people or resources should I allocate to the threat hunting to be efficient based on your past experiences? I guess between a private company and the Minister of the Army, it's different. But this is, I think, interesting for the CISOs to know what kind of the resource to allocate for the beginning. I'm not talking about very mature organizations.
I can begin. If you had 10 people and these 10 people are enough for the traditional approach of detection, so you need more people first. If you, and I think you can begin, if you have already a CTI capability, you can begin with maybe, I would say, 3 persons, but with limited goals, and it will be my estimation.
I used to take a figure which is pretty much, to start with, between 20 and 25% of the workload, which is where to start. Because below that threshold, you will definitively do nothing. But if you start to get, if you have five guys, and if you get one guy rotating, doing hunting 1 day per week or 2 days per week, that can be a good start, at least to do something.
Thanks.
I will also just add something. So I get it that we need a resource. Then you can start from, in my opinion, with part-time of half a resource to start working every morning on hunting, or working half of the week, whatever. Because in the end, it will just affect the time of your hunting campaign. So if you're okay to spend 2 weeks on a campaign instead of 1, basically you can start after. That's true. When you want to industrialize and to do more, and you have more expectation, you need to grow. That's clear.
Let me add one thing to this question. I think 10 people could be quite enough, but it's very important if these 10 people is a well-experienced, medium or senior, or just a junior team. And for sure, the demand for threat hunting is also not constant. I would say it's volatilizing. Just to mention an example from the past, maybe you remember when the Exchange vulnerability were published. I think within all the MSSPs, all the experts do threat hunting as it was possible. I mean, sometimes you need much more, but in general, one or two enough, and if you can rotate, that's fine.
Yeah, so my question is quite similar than the previous one. So just to complete your answer, what kind of skill do you recommend at the beginning if you just start the hunting teams? What kind of skills? Network or infrastructure, or what do you recommend? That's it.
Well, if you look at the type of attacks, the majority of attacks that we have today, and techniques and tactics used by the attackers, the way to detect them is for a large majority on endpoints today. So endpoints using basically endpoint detection and endpoints events generated by EDRs, or it could be a very good start. You can look at a lot of things if you focus on a strategy which is, I will look at the specific tactics and techniques used by attackers, so using the MITRE framework, for instance. If you look at different approaches, looking more at anomalies, specific anomalies in the network, you can look at firewall logs, you can look at proxy logs. Proxy log is a good start as well to look at the top lesson or top request, or the one that never show up in the alerts or those kind of things. DNS activity is also a good start, so more network type of activity. It can also be efficient here.
Thanks, Arnaud. So in my opinion, you need different skill sets. So you need incident response / threat intelligence skill set to be able to understand the attack and to see what we need to look for. You need the security analyst skill set to be able to understand what logs would provide the information on which system and to which extent. And that would be, in my opinion, the minimum. And then you need probably some development skill set, because you need to create some tools at some point to be able to do some graphical representation or whatever you need for that specific hunt. So when you grow in maturity, tooling and automation is something that you will need to add to your team.
There's one point you don't have to forget is we are looking for hunters, so the mindset of the person is very important. So you can have a very good administrator or very good SOC analyst, but maybe he won't have this mindset which will permit him to find the curiosity and these things.
Thanks a lot. I think we ran out of time. It was a pleasure to do this roundtable. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.